Hello, everyone. Will Kern from Endless Events, and sitting next to me is one of my favorite people in the entire world, Alex Plaxen.
Thanks.
Also a pro when it comes to crisis communications. You're working with MPI, and you've created some exclusively amazing content that you developed in terms of crisis communications. So, in one sentence, what is crisis communications?
In one sentence, what is crisis communications? Crisis communications, the way that I look at it, is if there were a crisis before, during, or after your event, how do you plan to communicate with your attendees and stakeholders? And I think it's really important that we have a plan for that, because I think too often we just shoot from the hip. And so if something's happening, can you send out a tweet? Can you Instagram? Well, that's great until something bad, really bad happens, right? So I think the fact that we don't have plans in this industry is scary.
Absolutely. And one of the things I think that's important that you denote, too, is that this is not the actual plan to handle the crisis.
Correct.
This is the communication efforts.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this, you literally do a 6
So
hour?
it's 6 hour. We also have a 4 hour version that we're developing for online, and then I've also traveled to different MPI chapters and presented a 1 hour version.
Wow. And so for anyone out there who thinks, might be thinking themselves, yeah, I need a crisis communication plan, and thinks, oh, yeah, I can just knock it out maybe an hour. You go really, really in depth. So I'm going to try to highlight some of the best key points. I've seen the class that you've given. It's so good. It definitely made me want to sit down for an entire day and build it all out. I admit I definitely haven't built mine. But luckily, I don't plan the events, so maybe I need to create a crisis communication plan for AV probably.
You do, and actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think one thing we forget is how to work with our partners, right? Our venue partners, our AV partners, our speaker partners, our keynotes, right? Everyone has a role to play when it comes to crisis communications, and we don't think about that or have those conversations. If you're at a venue and there's another event sharing that venue space, you need to know who that event is, and not only be monitoring your own social media, but also be monitoring theirs. Because if something happens at that event and you're under the same roof, if you think that's not going to impact your event and your attendees, you're wrong. Wow. But we don't even think about that at all. We're so in our own little world that we're not thinking about, oh, we should contact the city and find out what other big events are going on in the city that might affect our attendees if something were to happen. We just don't think about those things, and we're not having those conversations.
It's so easy to think in like your bubble of your own little world. Oh, well, and we always tend to say, and I believe that Lori said this too, nothing can happen to me, right?
So I started adding in my presentations a slide that literally is like just big bold print that says fear is healthier than ego, because we have that mindset that, oh, it's not going to happen to me, right? But fear is actually healthy. It propels us to act, right? And I've been offering to help associations and organizations create their crisis communications plan. The only ones that have taken me up on it are ones that have already experienced a crisis, because the ones who haven't don't think it can happen to them.
It's kind of like insurance. People say like, oh, they think I don't need it until it actually happens.
Right. And I think what planners, the other side of it is, well, it's not my job. Right.
Okay.
And so planners think, well, that's our marketing team's job or our communications team, and that's not something I deal with, and I'm just logistics for my event. Well, that's great, but if no one knows your event better than you, first of all, so you have a role to play in the creation of the plan, but also you don't realize, like, it's twofold. One, if you handle a crisis poorly, you may not have your event next year, which means you don't have a job. Right? So it's job security for you as an event planner. But on the other side, it's also an opportunity for potential promotion, right? You're bringing something new to the table. You're talking to your higher ups in your organization about something that's really low-hanging fruit, but is something that they're not doing that is going to save them money in the long run. Because I will tell you, whatever costs and time you think it takes to create a crisis communications plan and train your staff, it's going to cost way more to hire a PR team and everything to fix a crisis after it happens and is poorly handled.
I love that point you make too about it almost creating a little bit of job security and promotion opportunity for you to kind of go to that next level. Lori talked a little bit about involve the C-suite really, really early on. And because there is a team that you believe should be put together, and her team is, I bet, a little bit different than yours. So can you tell a little bit about what kind of teams you have created for creating this crisis communications plan?
Yeah, so the first step in creating a crisis communications plan is auditing your vulnerabilities for your event. That's your foundation, right? So when we talk about the foundation, people ask for a template. Can you just send me a template for the
replace my
crisis
name,
communication
that's
plan,
it.
right? Like, just give me a Mad Lib, right? Just fill in the blank. Well, that's great, but you're building your plan based on a foundation about what are the risks for your specific event. If I just gave you a template, you're literally just going to fill in the blanks. Like, I know you. Like, we don't have the time.
I would do that too.
And so when it comes time when something is actually going to happen, it might not be the right steps for you to take. So
you may not know where to go to find exactly what you need.
You're not
right?
going to know where to go to find the right stuff, and it might be the wrong action for your organization and your event. So we always start with the foundation, which is that auditing of your vulnerabilities. And to effectively audit your vulnerabilities, you need a team, and that's going to include your CEO, your C-suite, your PR team if you have one. If not, you should be contracting with someone, at least for the creation of this plan. Your legal team, so if you don't have a legal team, contract with someone for the creation of the plan. We talk a lot about these. You see these active shooter situations, and all of a sudden the social media goes silent, right? And they're just like, well, we don't want to get in trouble, so we're not going to say anything at all. Well, the problem is, the reason they do that is because they haven't created statements that have already been pre-approved by a legal team. If you've already created statements pre-approved by a legal team, that buys you time. And we talk about it in the class. It's called a holding statement. So you need that legal person on this team for auditing your vulnerabilities. And then you need the head of every department in your organization. So whether that's, if you're an association, your membership team, your advocacy team, everything. You need these heads of departments, marketing, etc., because everyone's going to have a different perspective on what is a vulnerability for your event. And it can't just be you, because you're going to be thinking logistics, right? And it's not just logistics. And then when you do your risk assessment matrix to figure out, is this an extreme risk or is this low risk, everyone's going to have a different opinion. So you need those people in the room at least during the step of doing a vulnerability audit.
I love it. And if like the things like the matrix and all that sound complicated, you're just gonna have to take the class to learn exactly how it works. I've seen it put together, and it's absolutely awesome. Alex, what sort of go-home tips do you think that planners and anyone who takes that's interested in this should be aware of as well?
Yeah, one of the keys is knowing your plan. So you hear oftentimes, oh, well, we do have a plan, or we did have a plan. It hasn't been updated in 5 years. It sits in a binder on some shelf in our office. And okay, that's great. That does you might as well not have a plan. One of the key steps, I talk about 3 steps, is auditing your vulnerability. That's your foundation. Creating a plan. That's your house. And then knowing your plan is the keys to that house, right? That lets you in. So that knowing your plan is really important. And that's one of the things we do in this course is we walk through all these different steps. And that knowing the plan, we actually do a real-time exercise in groups in this course where we allow you to create a plan for a fictional event. And then we will put you through the ringer of like every potential crisis that could possibly happen. And it's amazing the reactions I get from the people who've taken the course before is because they had just created the plan, it's fresh in their minds, they know it, and they go, oh, wow, that was really easy because we knew our plan. Well, you have to take that and realize that if you're training your staff, if you are talking about this, from a fresh perspective, you are going to know your plan, and it is going to be second nature. You might not have to refer to the actual document if you know it. So that's really important.
I love it. And I think implementing the plan is very, very important too. Big shout outs actually to IMEX. We've been working a lot with them, the communications team. We've been here doing all these videos and all this awesome live streaming. And I was in their office for their communications team. And you know what? I literally caught my eye sitting right on the desk where everyone could grab it really quick next to the head person was a crisis communications plan.
Yeah, it's
ready to go.
It's important. And, I asked 3 questions, whether it's the 1 hour course that I teach, the 3 hour, 4 hour, 6 hour. and that's who's in charge of your social media and communications during your event. And typically you hear, your marketing team, and they say, do they know crisis communications is part of their job? Because oftentimes if you're talking about a marketing team, they don't know it's part of their job. And then I ask the third question, which is, are they trained in crisis communications?
And no hands go up.
And like maybe one hand goes up. And that terrifies me because I go to a lot of events. And if you think about that, and I've been doing this now, speaking on this for a year and a half, almost 2 years, this is the norm, is that maybe in a room of 100 people, 1 or 2 hands will go up where they have been trained in crisis communications and they know it's part of their job, which means the majority of the events that we attend don't. And that scares me, that if there were a crisis, they don't have a plan for how to communicate with me.
Wow. Alex, seriously, so much awesome. Like, just a teaser. Everyone, like, just get really excited. If you don't have this sort of plan, you got to take this. I know this isn't sexy. This isn't trends. This isn't, how to make your event look cooler or newest piece of furniture. But this stuff is really, really important. So, Alex, can you tell a little bit about the class and kind of what's all put together in it? And you teased a little bit about there's some hands-on, there's some actual creation of plans, what they have to look forward to?
Yeah, so MPI has been really great. We've been doing this now for a year. We've had a couple in person. We have had them online. It looks like next year we're going to be doing them a lot online. We have one coming up online. So if you go to mpiweb.org/crisis, that's mpiweb.org/crisis, you can find out more information about the upcoming classes online. And it's really cool. We do breakout rooms and we put you into groups. And it's really a good opportunity to not only learn from me, but also learn from other planners who've experienced different types of crises and what did they do. So it's a really great class. I suggest doing it. What's great about the online is you can get other people from your team to, sit in and really get trained in how to do this properly.
Fantastic, fantastic. We'll make sure that we link down below to all the resources. Also, some additional ones. I know Alex has done a Whiteboard Wednesday with us on this.
Yep.
And then we've also done a bunch of other different things.
Yes.
And we've also done an Event Icons episode on this. So you're going to definitely want to check that out and start to learn a little bit more about this. Alex, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
As always, fantastic to have you. And thank you guys for watching. And we'll see you guys on the next one.